All right, we'll say it one more time. If you choose an angle that is between 90 and 180, so let's pretend this is your test question. If it's an angle between 90 and 180, you know that it's in quadrant 2. If it is in quadrant 2, I ask that to convert to the correlated ratio, you are to take this angle and rewrite it in the form of 90 plus something. 90 plus something, 90 plus, just convert it. Good, it's 90 plus 30. This is the, I'm gonna say it's a placeholder, right? So the correlated angle of 120 is gonna be 30 degrees. And so we write this using the correlated ratio. The correlated ratio of sine is cosine of 30.
If you get like 170, would it be
You mean
80 or
it would be 10? Oh wait, no, it would be 80. Let's try that. Okay. So let's try obscure one. How about we do cosine? Okay. If we do cosine of 170 degrees, you know that it's between 90 and 180. It's a quadrant 2 angle. And I'm going to rewrite this as cosine of 90 plus 80. This is going to be the same as a negative sign. So write this down and let me try to explain. If you remember CAS rule, sine is always positive. Okay, so whatever this, so even sine, so sine and cosine, sine and cosecant, which is 1 over sine, when they convert to its correlated angle, it is going to remain as a positive. Any other ratio will convert to a negative. So I'll say this one more time. Following CAS rule, you don't have to memorize anything new. Quadrant 2 is S, which means all the ratios for sine, so cosecant as well, when it's converted will remain a positive. A cosine, when it converts to sine, is not going to be positive. So here, quadrant 2, sine and cosecant are positive when they convert. So let me write this. Not sine and cosine or cosecant are positive because you might get confused. Starting with a sine and cosecant are positive. Okay, because clearly you see that here's a negative sine. Clearly you see that here's a negative cosecant. So I'm not saying sine and cosine secant are always positive. If you are starting with a sine or a cosecant, they're going to be positive. So those of you who want to sort of pop out the sheet, why is it so hard to choose a highlighter? Where is Mr. Ross's orange highlighter he always has here?
wait, sorry. So you're saying the first one is positive because you're saying sine of 5/2 plus x. And so you go
So if the question is giving you a large angle with the sine, when you convert it, it remains positive. But if the question gave you a cosine, when you convert it, it doesn't remain positive. Whatever the angle is, if I gave you cosecant, it's going to become still a positive. But if I gave you a tangent, it becomes negative cotangent. Cotangent becomes negative tangent. Only ones that remain positive is if you're starting with sine or cosecant. And that corresponds with CAS rule S. Secant is 1 over cos. So it's still a, yes, correct. I need a highlighter. Someone throw me a highlighter. This is silly. I'm wasting too much time. Yep. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Give me an angle between 180. So this is a pi over, just pi, by the way. Okay. between pi and 3 pi over 2, or that is 270 degrees. Give me any angle. Maggie, go. Any angle. No. No. Okay. I need an angle. Any angle. Lauren, give me a number. 200. Sure. Let's do something obscure. Secant. If the question gives me a secant of 200, you know that it's in quadrant 3. So it can be rewritten as secant of 3 pi over 2, which is 270 minus some kind of angle. 70. And when I rearrange it, the related angle of secant would be, the related ratio of secant would be cosecant. There. Yes.
Why for section like quadrant 2, you 90 as in there, but you use 270 and not 1?
That's a good question. If you recall, now this is something that I won't be able to show too well here because I'm going to write all over the place, but everyone hold on for a second. I'll come back to the sheet. If you remember the very first page of this worksheet, the triangle that we have always drawn was always in relative to the x-axis. So it was always 0 plus an angle, or it was 180 minus that angle, right? Or it was 180 plus, or it was 360 minus. Correlated triangles are drawn with reference to the y-axis. So it's going to be 90 minus a piece, or 90 plus a piece. It's going to be 270 minus a piece or 270 plus a piece. The same idea, but just y now. Okay, another example. This time let's do tangent. Let's pretend the question gave me cotangent of 269. That can be rewritten as cotangent of 270 minus some angle. 1. And so when I convert that to tangent, remember that in quadrant 3, any ratio that is sort of born from, or that is a tangent, so tan and cotan, remain positive. There. And this one you will see in quadrant 4, it's 270 plus an angle. So let's do 271. Sine, just an example. So what do we not do yet? Cosecant. We haven't done cosecant. Yes. Cosecant of 271 degrees, you know that is it's in quadrant 3, and we can rewrite that therefore as 270 plus an angle, which in this case is a 1. And then let's convert that into related. That's going to be negative secant of 1 degree. If you didn't have this, how would you know? Well, cosine, cast rule, C is the letter that corresponds to quadrant 4. That means cosine and secant are the only ones that will keep the answer positive. Okay. We said 1, 2, 3, sine, cosine, tangent. I think you get the point. Okay, let's try this. Feel free to use this as reference, but I am going to try some of these questions before we leave. There is another question that you can try from the back. Maybe I should try that. I'll do one of these and then I'll do one of the question in the back, okay? Sine. It's 200. I'm going to rewrite this. Sine of 270 degrees minus 60 degrees. What quadrant is it? Just from looking at this part right there. Yeah, right. So 270 minus 60 is sort of like saying it's sine of 210, right? So you know it's in quadrant 3. Therefore, CAST only tan and cotangent will remain positive. What does that mean? After we convert, what is it going to turn into? It's going to be a negative. So sine of 270 minus 60 is the same as its correlated ratio at 60 degrees. Which is, use your triangle, 1, 2, 3. It is going to be, oh, sorry. It's going to be negative. Negative. It's going to be negative 1, 2, 3, 1. And yes.
So quadrant 1 minus 190. Quadrant 2.
You add to a 90.
3. You subtract
270.
Or
Add, yes. Instead of 0 and 180 or 360, whatever, it's 90 and 270. That's your reference. Okay. So there it is. So you might be asking, well, Mr. Kim, can't I just use CAST rule sine 210? Absolutely, you can, right? But there may be situations where you are forced to do a conversion. For example, I'm going to go to the back here. I see some people copying, so I'll give it a minute. Oh, down to the last wire. Oh, by the way, the answers that of all this filled in is already online as a PDF, but I'll put the video up soon too. What if I give you a question like this? I give you cosine of 7 pi over 18. And I ask for sine pi over 9. That sounds a little obscure, so let's rewrite it like this. I know that the angle is going to have a denominator of 18. So just to see what all this is about, I'm going to convert this into the same denominator. What quadrant is this? So pi over 9. What quadrant is this? Your conversion if you need to. Huh? Pi over 9, 180 over pi, multiplied by 180 over pi, 20 degrees. Therefore, it's quadrant 1. So we can actually rewrite this as sine pi over 2 minus some angle. Right? Because it's quadrant 1. So again, we're dealing with a denominator of 18. So I'm going to change this. Pi, what is subtracted to give me 2 over pi? So 2 pi over 18. It must have been 7 pi over 18. Right? And so why is this nice? It's because the question gave me something that had to do with 7 pi over 18. This can be converted into cosine of 7 pi over 18, which is equal to 0.3420. If you want to turn it into angles, you can. Absolutely. I'm not going to stop you.
But if not, we can just make the denominator the same factor.
Yeah.
Right? And it was it's the same.
For those of you who are interested, just stay for 1 minute. Everyone else, you are dismissed. If you want, change this into angles. You get 70 degrees. So this question is equal to sine of 70 degrees. That easier? Which is equal to sine 90 minus 20, which is going to be cosine of 20, which is equal to, that might be easier for you. Right? Good night, everyone. Have a good break. Try to decompress. Just don't stay too long. I believe I set up a calendar for you to see what's in the next weeks to come. Prepare yourself with whatever schedule you need and have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Mr. Kim. See you later. It's on the 12th. So there is a chance that our little class assignment the next week will be, but I won't guarantee because it is in a week and a half.
How much, what is the weighting of this test?